Welcome to Ghost Stories Around the Campfire. Tonight, my story is based on a true event. It happened in Burlington, Vermont. Over 100 years ago. The day it happened, the wind was blowing, though it was a beautiful sunny day. It was blowing quite violently, picking up sticks and leaves and tossing them in the air. Marie Blaze, her sister Rebecca, and their friend Iris were on their way to work at the Queen City cotton mill. They were laughing and joking in youthful exuberance when Rebecca got the idea. "Race you!" And she and Iris took off with their long legs, leaving poor, short Marie behind. She never expected to catch up with them when they did things like this, but she ran anyway. She watched as Rebecca and Iris sprinted ahead of her, and all of a sudden the wind blew up and blew her apron over her head. She heard the train whistle as she scrambled to get free of her apron, then continued on her way into the mill. How had Rebecca and Iris disappeared so quickly? She scurried up the stairs to the third floor, but something didn't seem right. Someone in the shuttle room was crying, a woman's voice. Well, she pulled open the door, and much to her surprise, it looked like every employee in the whole building was gathered around in a big circle around whoever was crying. She stepped up to the crowd, got up on her tiptoes, trying to see what was going on. But it was no use. She tugged on the shirt of the man that stood next to her. Do you know what's going on?" It seemed like he didn't even know she was there. And she tapped the woman on the shoulder who was standing to her right. What happened? Do you know what happened? Why is she crying?" But these people were so consumed in their grief, it seemed like they couldn't think of anything else. Marie had the good idea to go downstairs to the office. Maybe somebody there would know what had happened. So she went down the 3 flights of stairs, and just as she was about to hop off the last step, she saw Mr. Hines hanging a sign on the front door of the mill. He came in, closed the door, went to his office, and slammed the door behind him. Strange. Marie went to the front door, opened it, and it said, "Mill closed for the rest of the day." Well, why would that be? Oh, but Marie didn't mind. She would get to spend the day in the beautiful sunshine. She took her lunch pail and went straight to the park. She found a nice tree to sit under, ate her lunch, and then leaned back and listened to the birds while she closed her eyes and let the breeze blow over her skin and her face. Well, she must have snoozed, because she woke up and it was starting to get dark. Oh my goodness. She hurried because she knew her fiancé, John, was coming over to visit. She walked the block to her tenement, went up to the second floor into her apartment, where she untied her apron and hung it on the closet door. Even though it was late, for some reason she wasn't hungry, so she laid down to take a little nap while she waited for John. But then, hours later, she awoke with a start. That's odd. I didn't hear John. Usually, if he comes over to visit, if the door's locked downstairs, he'll come and call to me at the window, but I didn't hear anything. And then she just drifted back to sleep. The next morning, though, she awoke suddenly. Oh no! What if the reason that everybody was so upset is because something happened to John? Still in the clothes she wore the day before, she hurried down the stairs and around the block to John's street. There at the end of the street, she saw him. Oh, thank goodness, he's all right. He was just pulling away with his wagon and horse. John! John! But it was too far away. He couldn't hear her. And by the looks of where the sun set, she had better get to work. Rebecca and Iris were probably way ahead of her. So she made her way down the block and up the street toward the mill. But when she got to the tracks, she stopped short. Oh no. There, splattered on the tracks, was blood. What's happened? She ran over to the door where the sign still hung. Mill closed for the rest of the day. Why is the mill closed 2 days in a row? This doesn't make sense. And then she had the good sense to realize that the one person in town who would know what was going on was the minister. He knew everybody's business. So on she went down Church Street until she arrived at the church. She ran up the steps to the front door, but the door was locked. So she went around to the side, and that door was locked too. But she had a good view of the cemetery behind the church. And there stood what looked like the entire town in a big circle among the graves. Oh, what has happened? She crept closer to the crowd until she saw her mother and father, Rebecca, Iris, and John. They were standing around an open grave. And there stood the minister, his Bible open. My friends, we are gathered here to say our last goodbye to our sister, our daughter, our friend, Marie Blaze. And so it was. For the next year or so, every time that the wind blew and the train whistle went off, people say you could hear a woman screaming, the voice of Marie Blaze. It was so bad that the conductor who was on duty when Marie Blaze died had to quit. And those who came after him witnessed several more deaths as people crossed the treacherous tracks. The town got up a petition to get some kind of safety around the tracks. Finally, they had an underpass built so that workers could cross and be safe. But on the third floor, anyone who stayed late said that they often saw a shadowy figure in the corner next to the shuttle where Marie Blaze worked. And for many years, this is how it went. Until the ghost, the screaming, the shadowy figure seemed to disappear. But in 2006, it all started up again for whatever reason. Perhaps Marie Blaze had gone into the light, and the others who had died in the same way weren't finished on this earth. So you could hear screams when the train whistle blew, and you saw shadowy figures on several of the floors at the Queen City Cotton Mill in Burlington, Vermont. Thank you for listening, and I wish you a happy Halloween.